So a lot has been in the news lately about real estate and the National Association of Realtors lawsuit that's going on, attacking, not necessarily attacking, but litigating against realtor commissions and how both realtors are being paid. And I don't know about you, but on my social media and all the news that I see online and social media, it's just, you know, attacking, not attacking, but saying that realtors are going out of business and that it's, you know, death to realtors. And I find it pretty funny because, you know, if you look at the details of the case, the facts actually say something a little bit different. I would say the news has done a really good job marketing this case, and I would say it is significant because there's a large dollars amount. Even my brokerage, Keller Williams, I believe they settled at like $70-something million for this. So that's just one company. So that is a significant number, but it's a little bit misleading. Even though that's very well marketed, it's misleading because actually nothing has really changed. At the end of the day, nothing has really changed. There's just a couple little ways and a couple little like line items that have changed in the compensation, but buyer agents are still able to be compensated. It's just a slightly different. The terms have changed a little bit than what we've had before. And I'll go through that in a couple minutes. But this lawsuit actually does have, even though I'm a realtor and I'm highly biased about this lawsuit does have some valid points, because how this was started, from how I interpreted this lawsuit, was in 2021 when the real estate market was insanely booming and there was countless offers. You barely had enough time to see a property, write an offer, and see if your offer got received. 20, 30 offers. Well, there was a couple sellers in a different state than California that wanted to not compensate the buyer agent, because they're like, hey, if we had 20 or 30 offers, we have a lot of offers on the table, I don't want to compensate the buyer agent commission. And there is a point to that, but the problem that that seller was in is that since it was on the MLS, they disclosed what the realtor commission is for the buyer side. Now the seller was forced, if they did accept an offer from a different realtor than the listing agent, then that seller is obligated to pay that commission because they've already agreed to that from the beginning. So when a listing agent takes a listing, so when I take a listing, I discuss with the seller the total commission when the property sells, for my side commission and the buyer side. Most of the time, a seller doesn't really care how it's split up, but we're mainly focused on what's the total commission, and then truly I get to decide what I'm offering the other side. Most of the time that happens. Occasionally, the seller wants to have their 2 cents in there. Listing agents are incentivized to have a solid commission or somewhat normal commission on the buyer side because they want their listing shown and they want buyers to come in and to write an offer, right? So if you offer 0, that's going to negatively affect the listing, but you want to obviously be profitable at the end of the day. So the listing agent determines the total commission for the property, and then generally that listing agent divvies up on the buyer side. Well, that seller wasn't happy because they felt like, well, with this many offers, everybody wants my house. I should be able to renegotiate that. And unfortunately, they couldn't because number one, they signed a listing agreement with their listing agent, so you can't really change the commission after you've agreed to it. But that seller was unhappy, and so it started from there, and then years later, it's all over the news. Now, why, in my opinion, why this lawsuit has some validness to it is because it does appear to be a conflict that a seller is paying both sides of the commissions, one to the listing agent and one to the buyer side. So I actually can understand why there is a little bit of a conflict to to the seller and to the overall transaction that the seller is compensating the realtor that's negotiating against them. And so it's just a little weird. The only thing is like it's been like that for hundreds of years, for 100 years or so. And it's been like that for a couple of reasons. Mainly, a buyer has so many costs to get the home, especially today, with interest rates being 7%, putting your down payment down, plus your closing cost, plus affording that payment. Now to add another 2% or 3% for your buyer's agent commission, that's a lot. And actually, in my opinion, I tend to think that would kind of kill a lot of buyers from buying, because literally a lot of my buyers are barely making it work to buy. To add another 2%, let's say if you buy a $1 million home, that's another $20,000 to compensate your buyer's agent. For most, it wouldn't work. And so my view on that is, even though that there is a little bit of a conflict, it's always been like that, number one. And number two, I tend to think that would unfortunately hurt buyers being able to afford and buying real estate. A couple other things on this, real estate isn't the only, like if you look at other industries, like an insurance agent or a financial planner, they're representing the consumer, but they're getting compensated from the accounts that they're selling the consumer. So if they sell an insurance policy, or if they sell a type of mutual fund or type of account, they're getting compensated from that account and paying them to a commission to sell you there. So that's a little bit of a conflict if you think of it that way. And then a doctor, like your primary care doctor, when you go in, you're sick, they prescribe you something, and you buy that prescription at the CVS or Target. That doctor is getting a compensation, a commission from the drug company to write that to you. So that's a little bit of a conflict as well. So that's why I was looking at reconsidering this in other industries. And even though those aren't perfect examples, there's still a little bit of a conflict, right? You're getting commissioned by somebody selling you something. Again, not a perfect example, but also I think somewhat of a fair analogy to consider in this situation. And so now what is happening in July? So what's happening is that on the MLS, so when I put in a listing, I generally say, hey, the commission's 2.5%, 3% to the buyer side. That commission spot on the MLS that it used to be only realtors could see, that box is going away. The function to put in a commission is going away. But what we can do is offer I don't think we can call it commission, but we can call it concessions, that the seller is offering the same percentage, 2% concession to the buyer agent. So it's literally the seller still compensating the buyer side. And so that's why I feel like this is just a little bit misleading and almost a waste of time as of right now. Now, in the future, could it get more aggressive to where a seller literally can't do this? That potentially could happen. But as of this year, in this July, just that commission box is going away. And then listing agents, we're going to put in the buyer side compensation, or whatever we're going to call it, whatever the legal jargon is that we can call it. We're going to put that in there because we know this: 90% of buyers, they're going to use their own representation. Most buyers don't feel comfortable going directly to the listing agent. For the exact reason, if you were in a lawsuit, you wouldn't use who you're suing, that same attorney, right? That's almost stupid. Even if you could save commission, you wouldn't do that. So most buyers want their own representation because again, buying and selling real estate for most people, it's not like buying a $40,000 or $50,000 car. You're buying $6, $7, $8 million, $5 million property. You need your own representation from a professional realtor. So we know that that's still going to stay the same, at least in my opinion. And a seller wants their home still shown, so they're going to still offer compensation to a buyer agent, because if you just cut out any compensation to a buyer side, you're going to lose 80, 90% of the visibility or the market share, the potential buyers that would be interested in your home. If you're not going to offer that commission, they're going to go somewhere else because they don't want to pay that to their realtor. So as you see that some of the rules have changed, but how business is still being done is going to still be the same even after this in July. What they're saying, that commission's going away, and it's the same, unfortunately. And we'll see if this gets, again, in the future, in the coming years, this whole way of how realtors are being compensated, it could improve, it could get worse, it could maybe get better. I don't necessarily think so, but needless to say, it is, you know, a big deal that big brokerages are paying tens of, maybe $100 million for this. If you have any questions on this, feel free to write me a message below.